"Mom, are we really not getting the turkey?" the boy asked innocently. His mother's chest tightened with shame as she whispered helplessly that they simply didn't have enough money, but she had no idea that just a few steps away, a billionaire and his little daughter had witnessed the entire heartbreaking moment. Unable to ignore it, the billionaire quietly walked to the customer service counter and pulled out his sleek black card. What happened next was enough to warm every heart in that store, and change this mother and her son's life forever. Before we continue, tell us what time it is and where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe and hype because tomorrow I've got something extra special for you. The fluorescent lights of Riverside Market cast their usual glow across aisles packed with premium products. Adrian Bennett guided his shopping cart past displays of imported wines and artisan cheeses, his mind only half focused on the task at hand. At 42 years old, he'd built a software empire worth over $60 million, yet standing in this upscale grocery store on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, he felt hollow inside. His daughter Natalie skipped alongside him, her pink jacket bright against the muted tones of the store. At 8 years old, she radiated pure joy, the kind that made Adrian grateful every single day. Since losing his wife Sarah 3 years ago to cancer, Natalie had been his anchor, his reason to push through when grief threatened to consume him. "Dad, can I look at the holiday cookies?" Natalie asked, her green eyes hopeful. "Stay where I can see you," Adrian replied, managing a smile. 5 minutes, then we're checking out." Natalie nodded enthusiastically and bounced toward the bakery section. Adrian returned his attention to selecting ingredients for their Thanksgiving dinner. He had everything planned: organic turkey, all the traditional sides, imported cranberry sauce. Money was never an issue. His company had just secured another major contract, pushing his personal wealth past milestones that would have seemed impossible in his childhood. But standing among this abundance, Adrian sometimes felt like he was sleepwalking through life. Sarah would have hated the extravagance. She'd always believed in balance, in remembering where they came from. They'd both grown up working class, and she'd never let success change their values. Near the checkout area, Natalie paused. She'd been reaching for a gingerbread cookie when she heard a quiet voice, tight with disappointment. "But Mama, what about the turkey?" Natalie turned. A small boy, perhaps 6 years old, stood beside a woman who was carefully counting coins from a worn purse. The woman wore a faded denim jacket, her jeans frayed at the bottom. Her face carried the kind of exhaustion that came from working too many hours for too little pay, yet she held herself with quiet dignity. "Miles, sweetheart, I already told you," the woman said softly, her voice breaking slightly. "We can't do turkey this year, but I got chicken on sale. We'll make it special, I promise." The boy's face crumpled, but he didn't cry. He just nodded slowly, trying to be brave. "Okay, Mama." The woman knelt down to his level, her hands gently cupping his face. "I'm sorry, baby. I'm so sorry." Her voice was steady, though her eyes glistened with unshed tears. She wasn't making a scene, wasn't complaining to anyone. She was simply being honest with her son, treating him with respect even in their difficult moment. Natalie felt her chest tighten. The woman stood back up, squared her shoulders, and placed their small basket on the checkout counter with calm dignity. Even in hardship, she carried herself with quiet strength, making sure Miles didn't feel ashamed, protecting his feelings while being truthful about their situation. Without thinking, Natalie ran back to her father, nearly colliding with his cart. Dad, she grabbed his hand urgently. "What's wrong?" Adrian set down the wine bottle he'd been examining, instantly alert. "Are you hurt?" "No, but Dad, there's a lady with a little boy, and she can't buy a turkey. She was so nice about it, but she looked so sad, and the little boy was trying not to cry." The words tumbled out in a rush. "Can we help them, please?" Adrian followed his daughter's gaze toward the front of the store. He spotted them immediately, the woman in the worn jacket, the small boy holding her hand. They stood in line, their basket containing only basics: bread, milk, eggs, chicken pieces. Nothing extra, nothing for celebration. Something twisted in Adrian's chest. He watched the woman interact with the cashier, polite and composed despite her circumstances. She didn't make excuses or complain. She simply handled her situation with grace. There was something about the way she maintained her dignity, the way she protected her son from feeling the full weight of their struggle, that struck Adrian deeply. "Please, Dad," Natalie whispered, "can we help them?" Adrian looked down at his daughter. Sarah's compassion lived on in her. His wife had always seen people, really seen them, not looking past them the way so many did. "Yes," Adrian said quietly. "Yes, we can help them." "How?" Natalie asked eagerly. Adrian's mind worked quickly. Simply handing them money would embarrass the woman. He could see pride in the set of her shoulders, in the way she held her head high despite her circumstances. She didn't want pity. She wanted dignity. "Let me think," Adrian said. "Stay here for a moment." He approached the customer service desk, looking for a manager. A middle-aged man in a store vest was directing a cashier. "Excuse me," Adrian said. "Are you the manager?" "Yes, sir, Tom Hudson. How can I help you?" Adrian gestured for him to step aside, away from listening ears. He kept his voice low. "See that woman in line 4? The one with the little boy?" Mr. Hudson glanced over discreetly. "Yes, I want to pay for her groceries, everything she's purchasing, plus I want you to add a complete Thanksgiving dinner, the whole works. Turkey, stuffing, cranberry sauce, pies, everything. But I need you to do it in a way that doesn't single her out or embarrass her." Mr. Hudson's eyebrows rose. "That's very generous, sir. Can you tell her it's part of a store promotion, some kind of customer appreciation program? I don't want her to know it came from me. It's important that she feels this is something she's receiving as a valued customer, not charity." "Absolutely, we'll take care of it right away." "Thank you." Adrian pulled out his credit card. "Whatever it costs, charge this, and get the best turkey you have. The biggest one." "Consider it done, sir." Adrian returned to Natalie, who was practically vibrating with anticipation. "What did you do?" she asked. "Watch," he said simply. They stood near a magazine rack, pretending to browse while keeping the woman in view. She'd reached the register now, placing her few items on the belt with careful, precise movements. The cashier, a young woman with kind eyes, began scanning. Mr. Hudson approached, a warm smile on his face. He spoke to the woman, though Adrian couldn't hear the exact words. He saw the woman's expression shift from confusion to disbelief, to overwhelming emotion. She covered her mouth with her hand, shaking her head slightly. "I don't understand," they heard her say. "It's our holiday blessing program," Mr. Hudson explained, his voice carrying now. "Random customers are selected to receive a complete holiday meal from the store. You've been chosen, ma'am." "But I didn't enter anything," the woman said, looking around as if searching for cameras. Her voice remained composed despite her obvious shock. "You don't have to. We select from our regular shoppers. You've been coming here for months, haven't you?" "Yes, but I never expected anything like this." "Well, you're getting it today. There's no catch, ma'am. Just our way of spreading some holiday cheer. Now let me get someone to help you pick out that turkey and all the fixings." Tears spilled down the woman's face, though she quickly wiped them away. Her son tugged her hand. "Mama, does this mean we get turkey?" She knelt down, pulling him into a tight hug. "Yes, baby." Her voice was thick with emotion but still controlled, still mindful of her son's feelings. "Yes, we get turkey, real turkey." The boy's voice was filled with wonder. "Real turkey, and stuffing and everything." Natalie gripped her father's hand. "Dad, she's crying." "Happy tears," Adrian said, his own throat tight. "Those are happy tears." They watched as store employees helped the woman and her son select everything they needed. The cart filled with food, a beautiful turkey, boxes of stuffing, fresh vegetables, bakery pies. The little boy's face glowed with excitement, but he stayed close to his mother, clearly taking cues from her calm behavior. Through it all, the woman maintained her composure. She thanked each employee helping her, asked thoughtful questions about cooking times, treated everyone with genuine courtesy. She wasn't effusive or dramatic, she was simply grateful, expressing her thanks with quiet sincerity. When everything was packed and loaded, the woman stood at the exit, wiping her eyes one final time. She turned back to Mr. Hudson. "Thank you, you have no idea what this means." Her voice was steady now, controlled. "I've been working so hard, but sometimes it's not enough. This will give my son a real Thanksgiving. Thank you so much." "You're very welcome, ma'am," Mr. Hudson said. "Happy Thanksgiving." "Happy Thanksgiving." The woman and her son left, pushing their cart full of hope into the parking lot. Adrian felt Natalie lean against him. That was a good thing, right, Dad? That was a very good thing. Can we make sure she gets to her car okay? She doesn't know we helped. It needs to stay that way. I know, but can we just watch to make sure she's safe, please? Adrian understood. His daughter needed to see the story through. All right, let's finish our shopping first. They completed their own purchases quickly. As they headed to the parking lot, Adrian spotted the woman loading bags into an old sedan. The car had visible wear but was clean and well maintained. The woman worked efficiently, her son helping carry lighter items without being asked. When everything was loaded, she paused. She looked up at the darkening sky, took a deep breath, and closed her eyes. Her lips moved in what was clearly a silent prayer. Not dramatic or showy, just a quiet moment of gratitude. Thank you, her posture said. Thank you for this blessing. Dad, Natalie whispered. She's praying. I see that, sweetheart. They watched as the woman finished, gave her son a gentle smile, and climbed into her car. The sedan started with a slight cough, then pulled out of the parking lot. Adrian and Natalie stood in silence for a moment. Around them, other shoppers rushed past, focused on their own concerns. None of them knew what had just happened. None of them knew how one small act had changed everything for a struggling mother and her son. That was nice, wasn't it, Dad? Natalie said softly. Yes, sweetheart. That was very nice. As they drove home, Adrian felt a warmth he hadn't experienced in a long time. Not pride exactly, but satisfaction. For just a moment, he'd made a real difference in someone's life. Dad, Natalie said from the back seat. Yes, sweetheart. Mom would have liked what we did today. Adrian's eyes stung. Yes, she would have. That evening, after Natalie was asleep, Adrian sat in his study, thinking about the woman at the grocery store. Not about helping her again necessarily, just about the quiet dignity she'd shown. In a world where people often made public spectacles of their struggles, she'd simply handled an impossible situation with grace. It was remarkable, really, and it stuck with him as he finally went to bed that Tuesday night. Over the next few days, life returned to normal. Adrian spent Wednesday and Thursday at the office, preparing for the Thanksgiving holiday. On Friday he and Natalie flew to visit his parents for the weekend. They returned Sunday evening, and Monday morning Adrian was back at work. The grocery store incident became a pleasant memory, nothing more. Adrian didn't think about it constantly, didn't dwell on it. He'd done a kind thing, and that was enough. Then, 3 weeks later on a Monday morning in mid-December, Adrian found himself with an unexpected early meeting. A potential client, James Peterson, had insisted on meeting at a specific location, a small diner called Betty's Kitchen downtown. The man claimed it had the best coffee in the city, and refused to do business anywhere else. Adrian arrived at 7:30 in the morning. The diner was small and worn, the kind of place where working people grabbed quick affordable meals before heading to their jobs. Red vinyl booths, checkered floors, and the constant smell of coffee and frying bacon filled the space. He took a booth near the window, and pulled out his tablet to review documents while he waited for his client. Coffee. Adrian looked up, and his breath caught. The woman from the grocery store stood beside his booth, pot in hand, wearing a server's uniform, with a name tag that read Rachel. Her face showed exhaustion, dark circles under her eyes, but her expression remained pleasant and professional. She didn't recognize him. Why would she? They'd never actually met, and he'd been deliberately out of sight at the store, standing far back by the magazine rack. Yes, please, Adrian said. Thank you. As she poured, he noticed her hands were steady despite obvious fatigue. She set down a menu, refilled his water glass, and moved on to the next table without any wasted motion. Every movement was efficient, practiced. Adrian found himself watching her as he waited for his client. She was exceptional at her job. Efficient without being rushed, attentive without being intrusive. She handled every customer with the same calm professionalism he'd seen at the grocery store. When a man at the counter complained loudly that his eggs were overcooked, Rachel handled it with perfect grace. I'm so sorry, sir. Let me have those remade right away. No charge for the inconvenience. She took the plate back to the kitchen, without any visible frustration, her pleasant demeanor never faltering. Even when the man continued grumbling, she simply nodded politely and went about her work. Another waitress, younger and clearly less experienced, approached Rachel in a rush. Can you take table 7? I'm swamped and they're getting impatient. I've got 5 tables already, Jenny. Please, just this once. Adrian watched Rachel glance at her own full section, then at table 7 where an irritated couple sat waiting. She didn't argue or complain. She simply nodded. All right, but you owe me one. She took the additional table without missing a beat, handling the demanding couple with the same courtesy she gave everyone else. When they complained about the wait, she apologized sincerely and offered them complimentary coffee. By the end of their meal, they were smiling and left her a generous tip. Adrian's client arrived at 8 o'clock, and they spent an hour discussing contract terms. But Adrian found his attention drifting to Rachel as she worked. She never stopped moving, never sat down, never took a break that he could see. Yet she handled every situation with calm competence, never losing her composure even when other staff dumped their work on her or customers were difficult. Near the end of Adrian's meeting, around 9 o'clock, he heard the owner call out from behind the counter, "Rachel, menu board needs updating. Breakfast special prices changed this morning." "I'm in the middle of the rush, Mr. Chen," Rachel replied politely but firmly. "Can it wait 30 minutes? "No, it can't. People need to see the right prices. Figure it out." Rachel's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly, but she didn't argue. She simply nodded and continued serving her tables with the same professionalism. Adrian finished his meeting and walked to the register to pay. As he waited for his credit card to process, he noticed Rachel had found a brief lull around 9:15. She grabbed chalk and began working on the large blackboard menu behind the counter. What happened next made Adrian stop and stare. In less than 20 minutes, Rachel transformed the board from a hastily scrawled list into something remarkable. Beautiful hand lettering, perfectly spaced and sized for easy reading. Each letter was crafted with care, showing real skill and training. Small illustrations appeared beside each item: a steaming coffee cup that looked three-dimensional, a stack of pancakes with butter that seemed to glow, strips of bacon rendered with surprising detail and dimension. It wasn't just functional, it was art, real professional art. The cashier, Betty according to her name tag, followed Adrian's gaze. "She's something, isn't she? Used to be a designer or artist or something before life got hard. Shame, all that talent waiting tables. Does she ever do design work now?" Adrian asked carefully. Betty shrugged. "Not that I know of. Works here mornings, cleans offices at night. Don't think she has time for much else. But she never complains, that one. Best worker I've got. Shows up on time, never calls in sick, handles everything you throw at her. We're lucky to have her." Adrian paid his bill, but the image of that menu board stayed with him as he drove back to his office. Rachel hadn't just completed a task. She'd created something beautiful even when no one asked her to, even when she wasn't being paid for creativity, even when she was exhausted and overwhelmed. She couldn't help but make something better than it needed to be. That was the mark of real talent, real passion that couldn't be suppressed even by the hardest circumstances. As Adrian sat at his desk that Monday afternoon, his mind kept returning to what he'd witnessed. He'd helped Rachel once with the Thanksgiving dinner. That had been good, had given her family one happy day. But now he'd seen something more, something that changed the equation entirely. This woman had real skills, professional level skills, and she was wasting them, working herself to exhaustion at jobs that didn't use her actual abilities at all. Natalie's words from 3 weeks ago came back to him. What about tomorrow? What about next week? One meal had given them one good day, but what if there was a way to create lasting change? What if that remarkable talent he just witnessed could be used properly instead of being wasted on chalkboard menus in a diner? The question stayed with him all afternoon. By evening, after he picked Natalie up from school and they drove home, he was still thinking about it. "Dad, you're quiet," Natalie observed. "Is everything okay?" "Everything's fine, sweetheart. Just thinking about something at work." "Is it something good?" Adrian glanced at his daughter in the rearview mirror. "I think it might be. I saw someone today who reminded me of something important." "What?" "That sometimes people have gifts they can't use because life gets in the way. And sometimes, if you're in a position to help, you should try to create opportunities for those gifts to be used." Natalie thought about this. That sounds like what Mom used to say, about helping people help themselves. Exactly like what Mom used to say. That evening, after Natalie was asleep, Adrian sat in his study with his laptop. He couldn't get the image of that menu board out of his mind, or the way Rachel had handled every difficult situation with grace and competence. He began researching carefully, not invading her privacy, just looking at publicly available information. It took about an hour, but he found what he was looking for: an old portfolio website, linked from a community college alumni directory. Rachel Crawford, age 31. The portfolio was 5 years old, but the work was genuinely impressive. Professional logos, with clean lines and clever concepts. Website mock-ups that showed sophisticated understanding. Print advertisements that balanced creativity with commercial appeal. At the bottom of her portfolio page, currently unavailable for freelance work, he found an old newspaper article from 5 years ago. Local student wins design scholarship. There was Rachel's photo, younger and full of hope. The article described her as a promising design student balancing coursework with part-time work at a coffee shop. Then the trail went cold. No graduation announcement. No updated portfolio. No new work samples after that year. Adrian could piece together what had happened. Life had intervened. Probably pregnancy. Probably alone. Probably forced to choose between finishing her degree and survival. She'd chosen survival. Chosen to provide for her child, and her dreams had been set aside. But the talent was still there. He'd seen it this morning on that menu board. She hadn't forgotten her skills. She'd just been forced to stop using them. Now Adrian had to figure out how to give her a chance to use those skills again. Not as charity, but as genuine opportunity. Because his company actually did need a graphic designer. The marketing department had been requesting one for months. This could be real. This could be legitimate. He just had to figure out how to do it right, how to create opportunity without taking away her dignity. Because that woman deserved better than endless double shifts and exhausted mornings. She deserved to use the skills she'd worked so hard to develop. And Adrian, for the first time since Sarah's death, felt a sense of purpose beyond just going through the motions. He had resources, he had the ability to create change, and now he'd found someone who genuinely deserved a chance. He just had to figure out how to give her that chance in a way that honored her dignity and strength. The next morning, Tuesday, Adrian called his executive assistant Grace into his office. Grace had worked with Adrian for 8 years. She was sharp, efficient, and most importantly trustworthy. She'd helped Sarah organize charity events and never questioned when Adrian wanted to do something unconventional. "I need your help with a project," Adrian said once she was seated. "Of course, what kind of project?" "A hiring project. But it needs to be handled very carefully and completely professionally." Adrian explained what he'd witnessed at the grocery store 3 weeks ago, though he kept the story simple and focused on the facts. Then he told Grace about seeing the same woman yesterday at the diner, about her obvious design skills being wasted. "I want to create a position for a graphic designer," he said. "We genuinely need one. Janet's been requesting it for months. But I want to make sure this particular person knows about the opportunity, and has a fair chance to apply." Grace listened carefully. "And she doesn't know you saw her at the grocery store or the diner?" "No, and that's critical. This has to be completely legitimate. I'm not offering her a job out of pity. I'm creating a real position that we actually need, and I want to make sure qualified local talent knows about it." "How do you want to handle the outreach?" "Post the position publicly on all the major job boards today, but also conduct a local talent search. Look through community college design programs, alumni directories, local portfolio websites. When you find Rachel Crawford's portfolio, reach out to her directly, and encourage her to apply, just like you would with any promising local designer we discovered." "What if she's not actually qualified when we interview her?" "She is. I've seen her portfolio online. It's excellent. But that's exactly why Janet interviews her and makes the final decision. Everything has to be handled exactly like any other hire. Standard process, fair evaluation." Grace nodded slowly. "What's the salary range?" Adrian named a figure that was market standard for the position in their city. Not suspiciously high, not insultingly low. Full benefits package, everything we offer at that level. Completely standard. "When do you want this to start?" "Get the position posted today. Start the local talent search immediately. When you find Rachel's portfolio, send her a personalized email saying we're reaching out to promising local designers we've discovered, and encouraging them to apply. And if other qualified people apply, Then Janet interviews them all fairly and picks the best candidate. That's how it should work. After Grace left, Adrian sat back in his chair. This felt right. He wasn't manipulating anything inappropriately. He was simply making sure opportunity found someone who genuinely deserved it and was genuinely qualified for it. The position was real. The need was legitimate. Rachel's talent was undeniable. All he was doing was connecting those things together in a way that gave her a fair shot. By end of day Tuesday, the position was posted on 5 major job boards. Grace had also begun systematically searching through local design program alumni databases, exactly as Adrian had requested. On Wednesday afternoon, Grace appeared in Adrian's doorway. Found her, Rachel Crawford. Her portfolio is in the City Community College alumni directory from 5 years ago. Adrian, the work is genuinely impressive. I'm not just saying that. Good. Draft the outreach email. Standard local talent search language. Already done. Want to review it? Adrian read Grace's email. It was perfect. Professional. Encouraging, but not suspiciously personal. It simply said the company was conducting a local talent search for their new design position. Her portfolio had been discovered in their research and had caught their attention. Would she be interested in applying? Send it. Grace clicked send, then looked at Adrian. You're sure about all of this? I'm sure. That woman has real talent being wasted. She's working herself to death at jobs that don't use her skills at all. We need a designer. This is just smart recruiting, Grace. It's what any good company should do, finding overlooked local talent. And if she figures out the connection eventually, the grocery store, seeing her at the diner, there's no inappropriate connection to figure out. We found her portfolio through a legitimate local talent search. That's the complete truth. Grace nodded, though she looked thoughtful. All right, let's see if she responds. Rachel responded 3 hours later, at 6:30 that Wednesday evening. Her email was brief but professional. Thank you so much for reaching out. Yes, I would be very interested in applying for this position. I've attached my updated portfolio and resume. I look forward to hearing from you. Grace brought the attachments to Adrian immediately the next morning, Thursday. She sent updated work. Adrian, this is really good. Recent freelance projects, very professional quality. Adrian looked through the new samples, logo designs for local businesses, a menu redesign that looked like it was for Betty's Kitchen, a flyer for a community event. Each piece showed real skill, creativity, and strategic thinking. Set up an interview. Let's aim for Monday afternoon if she's available. Make sure Janet prepares standard interview questions. I'll sit in as I do for all department-level hires, but Janet leads the interview. By Friday morning, the interview was scheduled for Monday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Adrian spent the weekend feeling nervous, which was unusual. He told himself it was because he wanted the interview to go well, wanted Rachel to get a fair evaluation, but part of him knew it was more than that. He'd seen something special in this woman. Not just talent, though that was undeniable, but strength, dignity, the ability to maintain grace under crushing pressure, the determination to keep developing her skills, even when she had no time or energy to spare. She reminded him of Sarah in some ways, though he couldn't quite articulate how. Both women had that core of strength, that refusal to let circumstances break them. Monday morning arrived. Adrian tried to focus on other work, but found his mind drifting to the upcoming interview. At 1:45, he went to the conference room. Janet was already there, organized and prepared with a list of standard interview questions. I've reviewed her portfolio thoroughly, Janet said. If the interview goes as well as her work suggests, I'm ready to make an offer. Let's see how it goes. Standard questions, fair evaluation. That's all I'm asking. Of course. At 2 o'clock precisely, Grace opened the conference room door. Miss Crawford is here. Please send her in. Rachel Crawford walked into the room and Adrian saw her clearly in a professional context for the first time. She wore a navy blue dress that was clearly not expensive but impeccably maintained and appropriate. Her hair was pulled back in a neat bun, minimal makeup, simple earrings. She carried a worn leather portfolio case and held herself with quiet confidence despite obvious nerves. Miss Crawford, thank you for coming, Janet said warmly, standing to shake hands. I'm Janet Hughes, Marketing Director. This is our CEO, Adrian Bennett. He sits in on all department-level interviews. Thank you for the opportunity, Rachel said. Her voice was steady, professional, though her hands trembled slightly as she shook hands with both of them. Adrian nodded politely, maintaining professional distance. Rachel's eyes passed over him without any recognition. Perfect. She had no idea he'd been at the grocery store or the diner. To her he was just the CEO she was meeting for the first time. "Please, sit down," Janet said once everyone had shaken hands. "Let's start with your background. I see you studied graphic design at City Community College but didn't complete your degree." "That's correct." Rachel's voice was measured, controlled. "I had to put my education on hold due to personal circumstances, but I've continued learning independently. Online courses, tutorials, keeping current with design trends and software updates. Design is something I'm passionate about, so I've never stopped developing my skills even though I couldn't finish the formal degree program." "What made you pursue graphic design originally?" Rachel's expression softened slightly. "I've always been drawn to visual communication. The way a well-designed logo can convey an entire company's values in a single image. How typography and layout can guide emotion and create meaning. Design is problem-solving through aesthetics, and I find that endlessly interesting." "Can you walk us through your design process?" Janet asked. "Of course. I always start with research. Understanding the client, their audience, their goals, their challenges. Then I sketch multiple concepts, usually a dozen or more rough ideas exploring different directions. I narrow those to 3 or 4 strong concepts and develop them digitally. I present options with explanations of the strategic thinking behind each choice because design should always serve a purpose. Then I refine based on feedback, typically through 2 or 3 revision rounds before final delivery." Adrian watched carefully. This wasn't someone reciting memorized answers. This was a professional describing her actual process with real expertise and strategic understanding. Janet asked about software proficiency, experience with different types of projects, managing difficult clients and tight deadlines. Rachel answered each question confidently, giving specific examples that showed depth of real experience. "Tell me about this project," Janet said, pulling up one of Rachel's portfolio pieces on the screen. It was a logo for a local restaurant, elegant and modern with a clever use of negative space. Rachel walked them through it professionally. The client's initial brief and concerns, the challenges she'd faced with their limited budget, her solution and the reasoning behind specific design choices, the positive results after implementation. She spoke with authority about her decisions, demonstrating both creative thinking and business awareness. 45 minutes into the interview, Adrian spoke for the first time. "Miss Crawford, your talent is obvious from your portfolio and from what you've shared today. But I need to address something directly. You're currently working 2 jobs, both physically demanding from what I understand. If we offer you this position, how do we know you'll have the energy and focus that design work requires? This isn't a job where you can just go through motions. It requires creativity, strategic thinking, sustained mental effort, problem solving. How do we know you won't burn out?" It was a legitimate question, the kind he'd ask any candidate with demanding circumstances. But it also gave Rachel a chance to address her situation directly, to explain her passion for the work. Rachel met his eyes steadily, her expression serious and thoughtful. "You're absolutely right to ask that, Mr. Bennett. I am working very hard right now. 2 jobs, long hours, constant exhaustion. But here's what I want you to understand. I'm working hard at jobs that don't use my actual skills or training. I'm serving coffee and cleaning offices. Both are honest work and I'm grateful to have them, but they're not what I'm trained for, not what I'm good at, not what energizes me." She leaned forward slightly, her voice gaining strength and conviction. "Design work doesn't deplete me the way physical labor does. It energizes me. When I get a chance to create something, even just redoing a menu board at the diner where I work, I come alive. Those moments of creativity sustain me through everything else. I'd gladly work 1 job doing what I love and what I'm trained for over 2 jobs just surviving day to day. The question isn't whether I have the energy for this work. The question is whether I'll finally get the opportunity to use that energy properly, to channel it into work that actually uses my skills and education." The answer was perfect, honest without being desperate, professional without being cold, and it showed real self-awareness, genuine understanding of what she needed and what she could offer. "What would this position mean to you personally?" Adrian asked. Rachel paused, choosing her words with obvious care. It would mean stability for my son. It would mean using my education in a meaningful way after years of it sitting unused. It would mean proving to myself that the sacrifices I made to develop these skills, the debt I took on, the dreams I had to defer, that none of it was wasted. Her voice remained steady and professional. I don't need this job just to survive, Mr. Bennett. I'm surviving now. I've learned how to survive, but I want more than survival. I want to build something real. I want a career, not just paychecks. I want to create work I'm proud of. I want to show my son that perseverance and education matter, that difficult times don't last forever if you keep working and keep believing in yourself. Adrian nodded slowly. That answer revealed character, dignity, self-respect, a clear understanding of the difference between needing and wanting, between surviving and thriving. Janet asked several more technical questions about design software, project management, working with cross-functional teams. Rachel handled each one expertly, showing sophisticated understanding of both the creative and business sides of design work. She walked them through additional portfolio pieces, explaining her process and decision-making with impressive clarity. Her passion for the work was evident in every answer. By 3:15 the interview was complete. "Thank you so much for your time, Miss Crawford," Janet said, standing to shake hands again. "We have a few more candidates to interview this week. We'll be in touch by Friday with our decision." "Thank you for this opportunity," Rachel said, shaking hands with both of them. "I really appreciate your time and consideration." After Rachel left, closing the door quietly behind her, Janet turned to Adrian immediately. "I want to hire her." "You're sure? You said you have other candidates scheduled." "I'm absolutely sure. She's talented, experienced, professional, passionate about the work. Her portfolio is excellent, and she clearly knows exactly what she's doing. She's exactly what we need, Adrian. I don't need to see other candidates to know she's the right person for this role." Adrian felt relief wash through him. "Then make the offer. Standard package, standard start date, exactly as you would with any hire. You don't want to wait and compare her to other applicants. Do you feel you need to? You just said she's exactly what we need." Janet smiled. "No, she's the one. I'll prepare the offer this afternoon." After Janet left, Grace appeared in the doorway. "Well, Janet's making an offer. How do you feel about it?" Adrian considered the question carefully. "Satisfied. Rachel earned that position fairly. She impressed Janet with her talent and professionalism. Whatever happens from here, she got this opportunity on her own merits." Grace nodded. "That's exactly what you wanted." "It is." By 4 o'clock that Monday afternoon, Janet had prepared a formal offer letter. By 4:30 she'd called Rachel to extend the offer verbally and sent the written offer via email. By 5 o'clock Rachel had accepted. Her start date was set for the following Monday, December 20th, giving her just enough time to provide proper 2-week notice at both her current jobs. That evening, Adrian picked Natalie up from her after-school program. As they drove home through the early darkness of winter, she chattered about her day, about a project she was working on, about her friends. "Dad, you seem happy," Natalie observed. "Did something good happen today?" Adrian smiled at his daughter in the rearview mirror. "Something very good happened at work today, sweetheart." "What?" "We hired someone new. Someone really talented who deserves a good opportunity." Natalie studied his face. "Is it the lady from the grocery store?" Adrian glanced at his daughter in surprise. "How did you know that?" "Because you've been thinking about her. I can tell. You get this look when you're trying to figure out how to help someone. And you said weeks ago that you saw her again somewhere." Adrian pulled into their driveway and turned off the car. He looked at his daughter in the rearview mirror. "You're very perceptive, you know that. Mom always said I get that from both of you." "Your mom was right." Adrian unbuckled and turned to face Natalie. "Yes, it's her. I saw her working at a diner a few weeks ago. She's incredibly talented, Natalie. She's a designer, a really good one, but she's been working jobs that don't use her skills at all, working herself to exhaustion just to survive. So I made sure she knew about a job opening at my company. She interviewed today, and she got the position because she's genuinely qualified and talented. So we helped her again, like with the turkey." "Not exactly. This time I just gave her information about an opportunity that already existed. She did everything else herself. She had to apply, interview, prove she could do the work at a high level. She earned this position entirely on her own merit. But we made sure she knew about it. Yes, we made sure the opportunity found her. Natalie smiled. Good. That's the kind of help that really helps. That's what Mom always said. The best help is giving people a chance to help themselves. Adrian hugged his daughter. You're very wise, you know that. I know, Natalie said with 8-year-old confidence. I learned from you and Mom. That night, after Natalie was asleep, Adrian sat in his study looking at Sarah's photo on his desk. I hope I did this right, he told her picture softly. I tried to help without taking away her dignity. I tried to create real opportunity, not just charity that would make her feel small. She earned this position, Sarah. She really earned it through her own talent and hard work. I just made sure she knew the door was open. I think you would approve. The photo didn't answer, but Adrian felt a sense of peace. He'd done something good, something that honored Sarah's values about helping people help themselves. Not by rescuing someone, but by creating opportunity for them to use their own gifts and rescue themselves. And that, he thought, was exactly the kind of help that mattered most. The following Monday, December 20th, Rachel's first day arrived. Adrian deliberately stayed in his office during the new employee orientation that morning, wanting to give her space to settle in without any complications or special attention. Through Grace, he learned that Rachel was absorbing everything quickly, asking intelligent questions, already brainstorming ideas for the marketing department's upcoming campaigns. She's impressive, Grace reported during their afternoon check-in. Janet is thrilled. The whole marketing team seems excited to have her. By the end of Rachel's first week, which was shortened by the Christmas holiday, Janet stopped by Adrian's office with initial feedback. I just wanted to update you on Rachel Crawford, Janet said. She's exceeding expectations already. She spent her first few days reviewing all our current marketing materials and brand, and she's already identified several areas where we could improve consistency and impact. That's good to hear. It's more than good. She's thoughtful, professional, asks great questions. I think we really found a gem with this hire. I'm glad it's working out. Over the next 3 months, Adrian maintained careful professional distance from Rachel. In a company with over 200 employees spread across multiple floors, it wasn't difficult to avoid regular interaction. He attended meetings where she wasn't present. When he walked through the marketing department, he timed his visits for moments when people were typically in conference rooms or at lunch. It wasn't about hiding exactly. It was about ensuring Rachel had space to establish herself professionally without any complicating factors or perceptions of favoritism. She needed to build her reputation on her work alone, without any connection to him that might cause gossip or undermine her achievements. Through Janet's regular updates and through his own occasional observations from a distance, Adrian watched Rachel transform over those months. The exhaustion that had marked her features at the diner gradually faded. She smiled more easily. She engaged confidently in meetings. She clearly felt comfortable and valued. By March, 3 months after Rachel started, Janet came to Adrian's office with a portfolio of completed work. You need to see what Rachel has produced, Janet said, spreading materials across his desk. This is just from her first quarter. Adrian flipped through the pages, a complete rebrand proposal for one of their older products, making it feel fresh and modern while honoring its heritage. Social media graphics for multiple campaigns, each one eye-catching and on-brand. A completely redesigned template for the company newsletter that was clean, professional, and easy to read. Marketing materials for a new product launch that told a compelling visual story. This is exceptional work, Adrian said honestly. Exceptional doesn't even cover it. She's produced in 3 months what would have taken our previous freelancers 6 months or more. And the quality is noticeably better, more strategic, more thoughtful, more effective. Janet's enthusiasm was genuine. The other teams are already requesting her involvement in their projects. Everyone wants to work with her. She's fitting in well with the team then. Better than well, she's become integral to our planning process. People respect her opinion. She's professional, creative, takes feedback gracefully but also stands her ground when she believes strongly in a direction. It's the perfect balance. Janet paused. I want to make sure we keep her. She's already getting recruiting messages on LinkedIn from other companies who've seen her work. Then make sure she knows she's valued here. Recognition matters. I'm planning to recommend a merit increase at her 6-month review. I know that's earlier than standard, but her performance warrants it. If you believe it's justified, I trust your judgment. Over those months, something else happened that Adrian hadn't anticipated but probably should have. Natalie came home from school one day in late March with exciting news. Dad, you'll never guess what. What, sweetheart? There's a new kid in first grade. His name is Miles, and guess what? His mom just started working at a tech company. Dad, what if it's the same Miles from the grocery store? Adrian's hands tightened on the steering wheel. He'd known Miles attended Lincoln Elementary, the same school as Natalie, but somehow it hadn't occurred to him that the children would naturally find each other. That would be quite a coincidence, Adrian said carefully. Can I invite him to play sometime? He seems really nice. He was by himself at recess, so I asked if he wanted to play on the swings with me and Emma. That was kind of you, sweetheart. So can he come over? Let's wait a bit. Let him settle into his new school first. Over the next few weeks, Natalie talked about Miles constantly. They'd become fast friends at school, playing together at recess every day, sitting together at lunch, partnering for group projects. He's really smart, Dad, and he's so nice. He helped me with my science project, and I helped him with reading. We make a good team. Adrian felt the inevitable convergence approaching. It was only a matter of time before the children's friendship brought the families together. In late April, 4 months after Rachel started working at the company, Grace appeared in Adrian's doorway with an expression that made his stomach tighten. We need to talk. It's somewhat urgent. Adrian set down the report he'd been reading. Come in. Close the door. Grace sat down, her expression troubled. We have a situation developing. It's about Rachel Crawford. What about her? Is there a problem with her work? No, her work is excellent as always, but there's office gossip starting. Some people are questioning how she got hired so quickly, why her work gets so much recognition from Janet, why she seems to be involved in so many high-profile projects so soon. There are whispers that maybe there's favoritism involved, that maybe she has some kind of special connection to management. Adrian's jaw tightened with frustration. Her work is excellent, that's why it gets recognition. That's why people want her involved in their projects. I know that. You know that. But perception matters in an office environment. And right now, some people's perception is starting to shift from Rachel is talented to Rachel might have connections we don't know about that got her here. That's ridiculous and unfair to her. Maybe, but there's more. Grace pulled out her tablet. Someone got curious about how we found her initially. They noticed that her portfolio website hadn't been updated in years, that it wasn't actively promoted or linked anywhere obvious. They're wondering how our talent search even located her in the first place. This was exactly what Adrian had feared. Not that Rachel had done anything wrong, but that others would create negative narratives that undermined her legitimate achievements. What are you suggesting? Adrian asked carefully. Grace met his eyes directly. I think you need to tell her everything. The grocery store, seeing her at the diner, how you found her portfolio, why you initiated the talent search and outreach. Before someone else pieces together enough information and the story gets distorted completely beyond recognition. You think someone will actually figure it out. I think if people keep digging because they're suspicious, they might find connections. Maybe someone saw you at the grocery store that day and recognizes both of you. Maybe someone saw you at Betty's kitchen. And if fragments of the story come out without full context, if Rachel hears pieces of this from office gossip, it'll look much worse than if she hears the complete truth directly from you with all the context. She'll feel manipulated, like her job was never real, like she never earned it legitimately. Maybe initially, or maybe she'll appreciate the honesty and recognize that her work speaks for itself regardless of how the door opened. Grace leaned forward. Adrian, you did a good thing. You created a genuine opportunity for someone who genuinely deserved it. But secrets have a way of coming out, and when they do, context and timing matter enormously. It's better she hears the full story from you, with all the context and explanation, than pieces of it from gossip or speculation. After Grace left, Adrian sat with the dilemma for the rest of the afternoon. By evening he'd made his decision. Keeping the secret might protect Rachel from short-term discomfort, but if it came out later through other sources, the damage would be much worse. The next morning, Friday, he asked Grace to request a meeting with Rachel. Nothing formal or alarming, just let her know I'd like to speak with her briefly about something important. My office, this afternoon, if she's available. At 3 o'clock that Friday afternoon, Grace showed Rachel into his office. She looked professionally composed but understandably nervous, as anyone would be when unexpectedly summoned to the CEO's office. "Miss Crawford, thank you for coming. Please sit down." "Of course." Rachel sat, her posture straight, her hands folded calmly in her lap. "Is there a problem with my work?" "No, your work is excellent, exceptional really. Janet can't stop talking about how valuable you've become to the team. This is about something else entirely, something important that you deserve to know." Adrian took a breath, gathering his words. "I need to tell you something about how you came to work here. The full story, including context and background you don't currently have." Rachel's expression shifted to confusion. "I don't understand. I applied for the position, interviewed with Janet, and was hired based on my qualifications and portfolio. What other context is there?" "That's all completely true. Your interview was fair. Janet made the hiring decision independently based purely on your qualifications, and you've earned every bit of recognition you've received through excellent work. But there's more to the story of how you came to apply in the first place, and you deserve to know it." Adrian told her everything, laying it out carefully and completely. The grocery store on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. Natalie overhearing her conversation with Miles about not being able to afford a turkey. The decision to help anonymously by arranging the holiday meal through the store manager, structured as a promotion to preserve her dignity. Then 3 weeks later, the completely coincidental meeting at Betty's kitchen for a business appointment. Watching her work that morning, seeing her create that remarkable menu board with professional skill and artistry, recognizing that genuine talent was being wasted. He explained the research that followed, finding her portfolio in the community college alumni directory, seeing her real qualifications and potential, learning about the scholarship she'd won, the dreams she'd deferred. "My company genuinely needed a graphic designer," Adrian said. "Janet had been requesting the position for months, but I wanted to make sure you specifically knew about the opportunity because I'd seen your talent being wasted. So I asked Grace to conduct a local talent search through design program alumni databases. When she found your portfolio, she reached out to encourage you to apply, exactly as we would with any promising local designer we discovered." He paused, making sure she was following, then continued. "Everything after that initial outreach email was completely legitimate and standard. You interviewed with Janet. She evaluated your work fairly and made the hiring decision independently based purely on your qualifications. I sat in on the interview as I do for all department-level hires, but I didn't influence Janet's decision at all. You earned this position through your talent, your experience, your professionalism in the interview. Every piece of work you've done here has been evaluated on its merits with no favoritism or special treatment from me or anyone else. You've earned every bit of recognition you've received." Rachel sat very still throughout the explanation. Her face remained carefully neutral, but Adrian could see her mind working, processing implications, connecting pieces. When he finished, silence filled the office for what felt like minutes but was probably only 30 seconds. Finally she spoke, her voice controlled but with an unmistakable edge. "Let me make sure I understand this completely. You saw me at my absolute lowest moment. At the grocery store, when I couldn't even afford basic holiday food for my son. You witnessed me at my most vulnerable, most desperate point." She paused, her eyes never leaving his face. "Then you helped anonymously, which I appreciated tremendously even though I never knew who to thank. Then 3 weeks later, you happened to see me again at the diner where I was working. You watched me work that entire morning without me knowing. You saw me create that menu board, and decided I had wasted potential, wasted talent." Her voice remained steady but grew sharper. "So you researched me without my knowledge or consent. You found my old portfolio, you learned about my background, my circumstances, and then you engineered a job opportunity specifically designed for me. You created the position, you orchestrated the local talent search, you made absolutely certain I would know about this opening. Is that accurate?" "The position was genuine," Adrian said. "We truly needed a designer.
Janet had been requesting it for months before any of this happened, and everything after the initial email from Grace was handled exactly like any other hire, with complete fairness. But I wouldn't have known about the position at all without your direct intervention. I wouldn't have been contacted by Grace, wouldn't have applied, wouldn't have had the chance to interview. Rachel stood abruptly and walked to the window, her back to Adrian. Her shoulders were rigid with tension. You took away my ability to know for certain whether I got this job purely on my own merit. That's what you've actually done here. Your work since you've been here proves, my work proves I can do the job well. She turned to face him, her expression showing carefully controlled anger. It proves I'm qualified and talented, but it doesn't prove I would have gotten this job in the first place without your behind-the-scenes manipulation. That's the part you don't seem to understand or care about. You've made it impossible for me to know whether I truly earned this opportunity based solely on my abilities, or whether it was handed to me because you felt sorry for me after seeing me at my lowest. Adrian felt the accusation land. I saw talent that was being wasted. I saw someone with real skills working themselves to exhaustion at jobs that didn't use those skills at all. I had the resources and ability to create an opportunity. Using those resources to connect talented people with appropriate opportunities isn't wrong. Rachel, you pitied me. Her voice was sharp and clear. You saw me struggling and desperate, and you decided to rescue me. That's what this really was, an elaborate rescue operation disguised as a professional opportunity. I saw potential and created opportunity. That's fundamentally different from rescue. Is it really? Because from where I'm standing right now, the effect is exactly the same. Everything I thought I'd achieved completely on my own, every success I thought I'd earned purely through my talent and hard work, all of it turns out to have been set up for me by a wealthy man who felt sorry for me. Her voice cracked slightly, but she maintained control. The impressive interview I thought I nailed. You'd already decided to give me a chance before I even walked in that room. The portfolio I thought captured their attention on its own merit. You'd already seen it and decided it was good enough. Every success I've had here, every piece of praise, every project I've been proud of, all of it is now tainted by wondering whether it's genuinely real, or whether people are just going along with what the CEO orchestrated. Adrian had no immediate response to that accusation. She was right in some fundamental way. He had manipulated circumstances however good his intentions had been. What do you want from me now? Rachel asked, her voice controlled but her pain evident. Am I supposed to be grateful, quit in protest, pretend this conversation never happened and keep working here while always wondering if my accomplishments are real? I want you to understand that my intentions were genuinely good, even if the execution was imperfect. I want you to know that your position here is completely real, that your achievements are entirely yours, and that you have every right to be proud of the work you've produced and the respect you've earned from your colleagues, while always wondering in the back of my mind if any of it is actually real, or if it's all just an elaborate form of charity from someone who felt sorry for me.
It's real, Rachel. I swear to you on everything I hold sacred, your work is genuinely excellent and would be valued at any company lucky enough to have you. Rachel stared at him for a long moment, her expression a complex mix of anger, hurt, and something else he couldn't quite identify. Did Natalie know about the grocery store, about all of this manipulation? She's the one who asked me to help at the store that day. She saw you and Miles in that difficult moment, and it broke her 8-year-old heart. She wanted to do something kind. But she doesn't know about seeing you at the diner, or about the job opportunity. She only knows about the Thanksgiving help. Something in Rachel's expression softened very slightly at that. She's a good kid. She gets that from her mother. Sarah taught her to see people, to care about others, to want to help. Rachel nodded once, her expression still troubled and hurt. I need time to process all of this. I need to think about what it means, about whether I can continue working here knowing what I now know. About whether I can trust that anything I've accomplished is genuinely mine. Take whatever time you need. Rachel walked to the door, then paused with her hand on the handle. For what it's worth, Mr. Bennett, I do believe your intentions were good. I believe you were genuinely trying to help, that you saw an opportunity to make a positive difference. But good intentions don't erase the fact that you took something important from me. You took away my certainty that I did this entirely myself, that I earned this position through my own talent and effort alone. That certainty, that confidence, that pride in pure achievement, those are things you can never give back to me, no matter how much you might want to." Then she left, closing the door quietly but firmly behind her. Adrian sat at his desk for a long time afterward, staring at nothing. He tried to do something good, tried to help someone who genuinely deserved it, but in the process he'd hurt her in a way he hadn't fully anticipated or understood until this moment. Maybe Grace had been wrong. Maybe some secrets should stay secret, even if they eventually come out, because now he might have destroyed something beautiful and important in the name of honesty and transparency. The question that haunted him as he finally left the office that evening was whether the relationship could recover, or whether he'd just permanently damaged something that had been working well. Only time would tell. For the next 4 days, Adrian and Rachel barely interacted at all. She sent project updates through email rather than stopping by to discuss them as she sometimes had before. In the few meetings where they were both present, she was professional but notably distant, her usual warmth and engagement replaced by cool formality. They passed each other in hallways with brief polite nods and nothing more. Adrian found himself checking with Janet regularly, trying to gauge whether Rachel's work was being affected by the revelation. "She's fine professionally," Janet assured him each time he asked. "Still producing excellent work, still meeting with the team regularly, still contributing great ideas. Maybe a bit quieter than usual, a bit more reserved, but nothing that concerns me from a work performance standpoint. Is everything okay? Just some complicated personal matters she's processing. Nothing that should affect her work long term." But Adrian was deeply concerned, not just professionally, but personally. He'd hurt someone he'd been trying to help. He'd taken away something precious from her mice, the certainty that she'd earned her place entirely on her own merit, and he couldn't give it back no matter how much he wanted to. Natalie noticed immediately that something was wrong with her father. "Did something happen, Dad?" she asked on Wednesday evening, 3 days after the revelation. "Why do you ask, sweetheart?" "Because you've been sad. You're doing that thing where you work too much and don't really talk when you're upset about something." Adrian managed a small smile. "Some complicated grown-up stuff happened at work. It's nothing for you to worry about." "Is it about Miles's mom? About helping them?" Adrian looked at his daughter with surprise. "How did you know?" "Because I've been thinking about it too. About whether we should have told her or kept it secret." Natalie climbed onto the couch next to her father, something she did less often now that she was 8 and growing more independent. "Mom used to say that secrets always come out eventually, that it's better to tell the truth even when it's really hard and uncomfortable. Your mom was right about that, but sometimes the truth hurts people, even when you tell it for good reasons." "Did the truth hurt Miss Rachel?" "Yes, I think it hurt her quite a bit, but it's still better than her finding out from someone else, right? Or never knowing the whole truth." Adrian hugged his daughter close. "I hope so, sweetheart. I really hope you're right about that." On Thursday evening, 5 days after their difficult conversation, Adrian's phone rang at 7:30. Rachel's number appeared on the screen. His heart rate picked up immediately as he answered. "Hello? Hi. Is this a good time to talk?" Her voice was calm but serious. "Yes, of course it is. I've been thinking, a lot, about everything you told me last Friday, about what it all means." Rachel paused and Adrian could hear her taking a breath. "Can we meet? Not at the office, somewhere neutral where we can actually have a real conversation without worrying about who might see." "Yes, absolutely. Where would you like to meet?" "There's a coffee shop on 5th Street called Parker's. Do you know it? I can find it." "Tomorrow evening, around 6 o'clock. Miles will be at a friend's house for dinner, so I'll have time to really talk. I'll be there at 6. "Thank you." The next evening, Friday, Adrian arrived at Parker's Coffee at 5:50. It was a small independent shop with mismatched furniture and local art on the brick walls. He ordered black coffee and took a seat by the window, his nerves more active than he wanted to admit. Rachel arrived precisely at 6 o'clock. She ordered tea and sat across from him. For a moment neither spoke, the silence heavy with everything unsaid. "I've been angry," Rachel finally said, wrapping her hands around her tea mug for warmth. Really angry, at you, at the situation, at myself for not somehow knowing or suspecting. I understand completely, but I've also been trying to be fair. To look at this situation from all possible angles, not just from my own hurt feelings and wounded pride. She took a sip of tea. I talked to a friend about it. Obviously I didn't use any names or identifying details, but I told her the general situation in broad strokes. And she asked me some questions I hadn't really considered on my own. Like what? Like what were you actually supposed to do? See someone struggling and just walk away? Ignore the fact that you happen to have both the ability to help and knowledge that help was genuinely needed and would make a real difference. Rachel looked at him directly. She also asked me if I'd rather be back at Betty's kitchen working double shifts and barely surviving, or here using my actual skills and able to give Miles a stable, secure life. What did you tell her? I told her I'd rather be here. Obviously, that's not even a question. But that I wanted to believe I earned it fairly and completely, that I got here entirely on my own merit without any manipulation or favoritism. You did earn it, Adrian said with conviction. Everything after that first email from Grace was entirely legitimate and fair. Janet evaluated your work independently with no input from me. She made the hiring decision independently based purely on your qualifications. Your performance since then has been evaluated on its merits with absolutely no interference or favoritism from me. You've earned every piece of recognition, every successful project, every bit of respect from your colleagues. I know that intellectually and logically, my rational mind understands that. But emotionally, it's much harder to separate the help from the achievement. It's hard not to wonder if people look at my work and think, oh, she's just here because the CEO felt sorry for her after seeing her struggling. Nobody thinks that. Your work genuinely speaks for itself. Rachel set down her tea carefully. Here's what I've realized over these past 5 days. I can spend my energy being angry about how I got here, or I can focus on being grateful that I am here. I can obsess endlessly over whether I earned the initial opportunity purely on merit, or I can focus on the undeniable fact that I've proven my merit conclusively every single day since I started. She looked at Adrian steadily. I've decided to choose gratitude and to focus on what I've actually proven through my work. Because my friend was right about something else too. She said that accepting help isn't weakness, that sometimes we genuinely can't do everything completely alone. And there's grace and strength in accepting what's offered when it's offered with good intentions. Your friend sounds very wise. She's nosy and opinionated and sometimes annoyingly blunt, but yes, she's wise. Rachel smiled slightly for the first time. So here's where I've landed after a lot of thought and emotional processing. I'm keeping the job because I have earned it and continue to earn it every day regardless of how the initial door opened. My work speaks for itself loudly and clearly. Janet told me just yesterday that I'm the best designer the company has had in years, and I believe her completely because I can see the results and impact of my work. Relief flooded through Adrian like a physical wave. I'm so glad to hear that. But there are some non-negotiable conditions going forward. What conditions? I'll agree to anything reasonable. Complete transparency from now on. No more secrets, no more careful distance, no more managing things behind the scenes for my supposed benefit. If there's an issue with my work, tell me directly and immediately. If there's office gossip about me, I want to know about it so I can address it. If my performance isn't meeting standards in any way, be completely honest with me. Can you agree to those terms? Absolutely. That's completely fair and reasonable, and I'm paying you back for the groceries from Thanksgiving. Rachel, that's really not necessary at all. It is absolutely necessary to me. Her voice was firm and non-negotiable. I looked up what a full Thanksgiving meal costs at Riverside Market. With the large turkey and all the fixings you provided, around $200. I'm going to pay you back at $50 a month until it's completely settled. 4 months of payments. I need to do this. I need to know that I paid my own way for everything, even retroactively. Adrian wanted to argue, but he recognized this was critically important to her sense of dignity and independence. If you truly insist, I do insist completely. I'll set up the payments through your assistant Grace so we don't have to discuss it awkwardly every month. But it's absolutely non-negotiable. All right, I understand. Rachel nodded, looking satisfied with his acceptance. Good, then we move forward from here. Professional relationship, clear boundaries, everything appropriate and transparent. Our kids are friends, which is genuinely good for both of them. We work at the same company, which is fine. but everything stays completely professional and clear from now on. I agree completely with all of that. They sat in silence for a moment, something settling between them. The anger had dissipated, replaced by understanding if not complete comfort yet. "Can I ask you something personal?" Rachel said. "Of course, anything. Why did helping me matter so much to you on a deep personal level? I mean really why at the deepest emotional level? Not just the surface reason about Natalie asking you to help or seeing talent being wasted, but why did it affect you so profoundly that you took all these steps?" Adrian considered the question carefully. It deserved his complete honesty and vulnerability. "Because I remember being genuinely poor, not just struggling or having trouble making ends meet. Actually poor. My mother worked 3 different jobs simultaneously to keep us fed and housed. We qualified for food assistance. I wore donated clothes from church. I remember shoes with holes in them that I had to keep wearing because we couldn't afford new ones." He paused, the memories still painful after all these years. "I remember the look on my mother's face when she couldn't afford things we needed. The shame she tried desperately to hide from me and my younger sister. The exhaustion that never went away no matter how much she worked. I had no idea about any of that. That you came from that kind of background. Most people don't know. I don't advertise it or talk about it, but it's why I notice when people are struggling. It's why I absolutely cannot just walk past someone in genuine need when I have the ability to help in some meaningful way." Adrian met her eyes. "When I saw you in that grocery store, I saw my mother. The same quiet dignity despite impossible circumstances, the same determination to protect your child from feeling the full weight of your struggle, the same strength in the face of defeat. And I thought about how if someone had helped my mother just once, just in a way that gave her a real chance to use her actual considerable skills instead of just grinding herself into dust with multiple low-wage jobs, how profoundly different our lives might have been." Rachel's expression softened considerably. "I didn't know that about you, about where you came from. And your wife Sarah, did she know about all of this? Your background?" "She's the only person I ever told everything to. Every detail, every painful memory. She came from a wealthy family herself, but she never let that change who she was fundamentally. She understood why it mattered so much to me to remember where I came from, to use what I'd earned to help others who were where I'd once been. She sounds like she was a truly remarkable person. She was the best person I've ever known in my life. She taught me that wealth is responsibility and obligation, not just privilege and comfort. That if you have significant resources, you have a genuine moral obligation to create opportunity for others, not just hoard it for yourself and your family." Rachel smiled gently. "I think I would have really liked her. She would have liked you too. Sarah had perfect radar for authentic people, for people with genuine character. She would have recognized immediately that you're absolutely the real deal." They finished their coffee in comfortable silence. The tension that had existed between them for the past 5 days had finally dissipated, replaced by mutual respect and honest understanding. "I should get going," Rachel said eventually. "I need to pick up Miles from his friend's house by 7. "Of course." They stood and walked toward the door together. In the parking lot, standing by their cars in the cold evening air, Rachel paused. "Thank you," she said sincerely, "for being honest with me, even though it was really hard and uncomfortable. For respecting me enough to tell me the complete truth rather than keeping me in the dark. Thank you for hearing me out, for being willing to see past the imperfect execution to the genuine intention behind it." "Are we good?" Rachel asked directly. "Can we move forward from here?" "We're good," Adrian confirmed. "Absolutely." They parted ways, heading to their separate cars. As Adrian drove home, he felt genuinely lighter than he had in days. The truth had been difficult and had caused real pain, but ultimately it had been the right choice. Secrets had a tendency to fester and grow toxic over time. Truth, even painful truth, had a way of clearing the air and creating a foundation for genuine trust. And now finally he and Rachel could move forward with complete honesty and transparency between them. That, he thought, was a much stronger and better foundation than deception, however well-intentioned that deception might have been. Spring arrived gradually, bringing renewal and growth. Cherry blossoms bloomed along the city streets. The days grew longer and warmer, and Rachel continued excelling in her role month after month.
The office gossip that had worried Grace completely faded away as people saw consistent, undeniable excellence in Rachel's work. She'd become an integral and valued part of the marketing team, someone whose opinion was actively sought by colleagues at all levels. The promised transparency between Adrian and Rachel created an easy, honest working relationship. They interacted naturally at company events, checked in briefly about department matters when needed, maintained a warm but appropriately professional dynamic. Natalie and Miles had become inseparable at school, best friends in every sense. The two families began occasionally doing things together on weekends, trips to museums, visits to parks, casual playdates that gradually became regular occurrences as the children's friendship deepened. Adrian and Rachel developed a genuine friendship built on mutual respect, honest communication and shared values. They talked easily at events, compared notes about parenting challenges, maintained a comfortable connection that felt natural and unforced. One Saturday morning in late April, Adrian and Natalie picked up Miles for a planned trip to the Science Museum. When they arrived at Rachel's apartment building, she invited them in for coffee while Miles finished getting ready. "I've been thinking about something," Rachel said as they sat in her small but comfortable living room. "About the grocery store, about what happened there, about how much that help truly meant to us at that moment." "Okay," Adrian said, curious about where this was leading. "I've actually been talking to Natalie about it a little bit at school pickup and drop-off. She mentioned to me that she still thinks about helping people, about trying to make a real difference in the world." Adrian smiled. "That definitely sounds like Natalie. So I've been doing research into local nonprofits that specifically help single parents. And I've been thinking deeply about what really makes a lasting difference versus what just provides temporary relief, based on my own direct experience." Rachel pulled out a folder from the side table. "What helped me most wasn't just the Thanksgiving dinner, though that was wonderful and meaningful. What really changed my life fundamentally was the opportunity, the chance to use my actual skills to build a real career. That's what made lasting, permanent change possible." She opened the folder to show him detailed notes and research. "I want to create a comprehensive program that helps single parents transition back into their careers successfully. Not just generic job training, but actual meaningful connections to real opportunities with real companies. Childcare support so they can actually attend interviews and training. Professional clothing so they can present themselves appropriately. Resume help and interview coaching from people who understand their specific challenges. And most importantly, genuine networking that leads to actual job placements with companies that value their skills." Adrian leaned forward, genuinely interested and impressed. "That's an excellent and comprehensive idea, very well thought out. I thought you might be willing to help, not just financially necessarily, though funding could certainly be part of it, but you have business connections all over the city and region. You could help create actual job opportunities for people who complete the program successfully, real positions with real companies that offer real futures." Adrian felt something warm expand in his chest. This was Rachel taking her own difficult experience and transforming it into something that could help hundreds or even thousands of people. This was truly remarkable. "I'd be deeply honored to help," he said sincerely. "In fact, what if we made it significantly bigger and more impactful? What if we started an actual foundation with proper structure and resources? You could design and run the program, use your direct personal experience to shape it into something truly effective that addresses real needs. I could provide substantial initial funding and extensive business connections to create opportunities." Rachel's eyes widened with surprise. "That's much bigger than what I was originally thinking. Why think small when we have the opportunity to think big? If we're going to do this at all, let's do it properly and comprehensively. Create something genuinely sustainable that can help not just dozens but hundreds of families over time, year after year." "I don't know anything about running a foundation or managing that kind of organization. You know what people actually need because you've lived it directly. That expertise and insight is infinitely more valuable than any business degree or nonprofit management course. We can hire experienced administrators to handle the technical nonprofit aspects and legal requirements. You provide the vision and direction based on genuine lived experience." Rachel looked overwhelmed but genuinely excited. "Can I think about this? Maybe develop the idea more fully and comprehensively before we commit to something quite this big?" Take all the time you need, but I mean it sincerely, Rachel. I think this could be something really special and transformative, and I think you're exactly the right person to lead it because you understand these challenges from the inside. Miles appeared then, ready for the museum trip. The conversation shifted to logistics and plans for the day, but Adrian could see Rachel's mind was already working intensively, already developing and refining ideas. 2.5 weeks later, in mid-May, Rachel came to Adrian's office with a comprehensive written proposal. She'd clearly spent dozens of hours on it, developing a detailed program that included thorough career assessment, targeted skills training, extensive job placement support, and ongoing mentorship. She'd researched similar programs in other cities across the country, identified gaps and missed opportunities, and designed thoughtful solutions based on what she wished had existed when she was struggling. "This is truly remarkable," Adrian said, carefully reading through the detailed pages. "You've really thought this through at every level with impressive thoroughness. I couldn't stop thinking about it once I started. I kept remembering what I needed desperately, what would have helped me, what ultimately made the difference." She leaned forward enthusiastically. "The key insight is that most job training programs are far too generic and don't account for the very specific barriers single parents face. Reliable childcare, consistent transportation, lack of appropriate professional clothes, significant gaps in employment history, loss of professional confidence, all the interconnected things that make it genuinely hard to even get to an interview, let alone perform well in one. And your program addresses every single one of those barriers comprehensively, every piece, because I've personally lived every piece of that struggle. Then let's do it. Let's start the foundation and make this vision real." They spent the next 3 months laying careful groundwork: legal structure, non-profit status, detailed partnership agreements with local community colleges, and established training programs. Rachel worked on it intensively during evenings and weekends, her passion for the project evident in every detail. Adrian provided substantial funding, extensive business connections, and strategic guidance. In late July, they decided to call it the Bennett Crawford Family Foundation. The name was Rachel's idea. "Your resources and connections made it possible," she explained thoughtfully. "My lived experience and understanding shaped it into what it is. It should represent both of us, both essential parts of what makes this work effective." In early September, they officially launched the foundation with a small ceremony. The foundation's first program session began immediately with 20 carefully selected participants, single parents from various backgrounds, all struggling to re-enter the workforce after extended periods of unemployment or underemployment caused by family responsibilities and circumstances. Rachel designed the entire curriculum herself, drawing directly and explicitly on her own experiences. She knew exactly what people needed because she desperately needed it herself not long ago. She brought in engaging guest speakers, organized valuable networking events, and personally mentored several participants intensively, sharing her own story openly to show that genuine, lasting change was truly possible. Adrian watched her come completely alive in this work. She was passionate, deeply dedicated, and remarkably effective at connecting authentically with program participants. She understood their struggles intimately because she'd lived them so recently. By mid-November, 15 of the original 20 participants had secured good employment, real jobs with benefits and genuine growth potential, using their actual skills and education. The foundation's first fundraising dinner in late November was a significant success. Over 100 people attended, raising substantial funds to support program expansion. When Rachel stood at the podium to speak, Adrian saw her complete transformation from the exhausted woman he'd first seen counting pennies.
"1 year ago, I was working 2 demanding jobs and barely surviving day to day," Rachel told the attentive crowd. "I had genuine talent and hard-won education, but absolutely no opportunity to use them effectively. No clear path forward, just endless grinding to make it through each day and provide for my son. Then someone created a real opportunity for me, not charity that would make me feel small, but a genuine chance to prove myself and show what I could do. That single chance changed absolutely everything." She looked directly at Adrian with gratitude. "Tonight we're here together to create those same transformative chances for many others, to give people the opportunity to show their worth and ability when someone believes in them enough to open a door." This foundation is fundamentally about possibility, about refusing to let talent and potential go to waste because of temporary circumstances that don't define people's true abilities. The room erupted in genuine applause. People approached Rachel afterward with their own stories of struggle, offering substantial donations and volunteer time. The energy was electric, the impact obvious and immediate. "You did this," Adrian told her later as they watched the crowd mingle enthusiastically. "This is your vision made completely real." "It's our vision," Rachel corrected gently. "You made it financially possible. You made it real and effective." There's a crucial difference. Natalie and Miles, who'd been allowed to attend the formal dinner, ran up to them both dressed up and clearly excited. "Mom, everyone absolutely loved your speech," Miles said with obvious pride. "It was really amazing, Miss Rachel," Natalie agreed enthusiastically. Rachel pulled Miles into a warm hug. "Thank you, baby." Adrian felt Natalie lean against him comfortably, and he put his arm around his daughter's shoulders. This moment, these people, this meaningful work they were doing together, it felt profoundly right in a way nothing had felt right in the 3 years since Sarah's death. "This is really good, isn't it, Dad?" Natalie whispered. "This is very good, sweetheart. Mom would be so proud of all of us." "Yes," Adrian said softly, his throat suddenly tight. "She absolutely would be." December arrived once again, bringing with it the second annual company Christmas party. This year felt completely different from the first. Rachel was now fully established and confident, a genuinely valued member of the team with a full year of consistently excellent work behind her. The foundation was thriving and making real measurable impact in people's lives. The party was held again at the Grand Hotel downtown, and Rachel moved through the festive crowd with natural ease. She greeted colleagues warmly, introduced Miles to various people with pride, clearly comfortable and genuinely accepted. Adrian found himself in a conversation with several employees when Rachel joined the group naturally and comfortably. "This is a great party, Adrian," someone commented. "Thank you. Grace deserves all the credit for organizing everything so well." "I heard the foundation had incredible success with its first cohort," another employee mentioned, looking at Rachel with genuine admiration. 15 out of 20 placed in good jobs with real futures. That's an absolutely amazing success rate for any program." Rachel smiled warmly. "We're really proud of what the participants accomplished through their hard work and dedication. They did the difficult work. We just created the structure and connections to make success possible." "I'd genuinely love to volunteer with the next session," the employee said enthusiastically. "Do you need help with interview coaching or resume review? We always need dedicated volunteers. Talk to me after the holidays and we'll find the perfect spot for your specific expertise." Adrian watched Rachel completely in her element. She'd grown and transformed so much over the past year. The constant exhaustion and stress were completely gone, replaced by genuine vitality and clear sense of purpose. This was someone fully alive, finally able to use all her considerable gifts effectively. After dinner, when children flooded the dance floor as they had the previous year, Adrian found himself standing next to Rachel, both of them watching Miles and Natalie dance together with joy. "They're such genuinely good friends," Rachel observed warmly. "Best friends, according to Natalie. She talks about Miles absolutely constantly." "Miles is exactly the same. Says Natalie's the smartest person in 3rd grade and his favorite person to spend time with." They smiled, watching the children with shared parental pride. The easy companionship between Adrian and Rachel had deepened considerably over the months of working together intensively on the foundation. They'd become genuine friends, bonded by shared purpose and deep mutual respect. "Can I tell you something personal?" Rachel said quietly. "About that day at the grocery store." "Of course, anything." "I almost didn't say anything honest to Miles about not being able to afford the turkey. I almost just put the chicken in the cart silently and left without any explanation. But Miles asked directly about the turkey, and I've always believed strongly in being honest with him about everything, even genuinely hard things." She paused thoughtfully, her eyes still on the dancing children. "And if I hadn't been honest with him in that moment, if Miles hadn't asked that specific question, Natalie wouldn't have overheard us. You wouldn't have known we needed help. None of this remarkable chain of events would have happened." So Miles' simple, honest question changed absolutely everything. A 6-year-old child's disappointed question started this entire remarkable chain of events. It seems almost impossible when you think about it. How one small ordinary moment can ripple outward into something so much larger. Not impossible, just deeply human. Real life is genuinely full of small moments that become major turning points. I'm grateful for all of it, Rachel said with conviction. Every part, even the genuinely hard parts, because they led directly here. To this meaningful work, this clear sense of purpose, this ability to help others in the exact way we were helped. I'm grateful too, for all of it. Later in the evening the DJ announced the final song. Adrian found himself asking somewhat hesitantly, "Would you like to dance?" As friends, he added quickly and clearly. Rachel looked mildly surprised but pleased. Sure, as friends, they moved to the dance floor together, joining other adults for a slow song. They maintained clearly appropriate distance, but there was comfortable, easy warmth between them. "Thank you," Rachel said sincerely. "For everything, for the help at the very beginning, for being completely honest even when it was really difficult, for supporting the foundation vision so completely and generously, for being a genuine friend. Thank you for giving all of it a real chance. For trusting that the intentions were truly good even when the execution was admittedly imperfect. For building something genuinely beautiful from a difficult beginning. We make a really good team, for the foundation work. We really do." The song ended naturally. They separated without any awkwardness, just two good friends who'd found unexpected but valued partnership. The next afternoon, Adrian drove Natalie to Miles's apartment for a playdate. Inside Rachel's small but warm home, decorated with Miles's colorful artwork and family photos, the four of them made cookies together. The children did most of the work enthusiastically, with the adults supervising and laughing at their creative if messy technique. "This is really nice," Natalie said happily as she decorated cookies with liberal amounts of frosting and sprinkles. "All of us together like this. It is really nice," Rachel agreed, smiling at Adrian over the children's bent heads. They'd built something genuinely good here. Not romance, but something equally valuable in its own way. Authentic friendship, shared purpose, deep mutual respect. Two families connected by circumstances and deliberate choices, working together to make their corner of the world measurably better. It was enough. It was more than enough.
Join us to share meaningful stories by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt empathy.